Hey guys, Harvey here, right here where the magic happens here in the studio, aka my bedroom. Real quick, I'm going to talk about all these houses and exactly which ones I'm very hyped for this year. As you can see, I have a nice little tier list laid out here with all the houses. I'm just going to briefly go over a description of them and then just figure out which ones I'm most hyped for. This is all just really what I'm looking forward to. Uh, First off, Stranger Things. As of right now, I've never seen Stranger Things. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Um, yeah, so I really don't know what to expect. But it says you'll need your squad to resist Vecna's gruesome curse. Like 11, now is your chance to stop him once and for all as you take on the scariest season of Stranger Things yet. Um, it sounds interesting. I think Vecna's a popular villain character within this franchise. I can imagine this is gonna have like the highest weight every night, and it's a franchise I'm not even the biggest real fan of. So I'm probably gonna actually throw this over in the B tier, just purely because I'm not really familiar with the source material that well. However, it does seem like the theme will be pretty interesting at least, and there'll be consistent story going throughout. Moving on to The Last of Us. You and your squad will encounter the haunting and overgrown world of the video game in a brand new, terrifying way. Stay silent if you want to survive a multitude of clickers, hunters, and more. This house, straight up into the S tier. I mean, this is the first PlayStation house, the first video game house to my knowledge since Resident Evil back in like 2013. Granted, I could be wrong, dude. I don't know, but as far as I know, that's the case. So it's very exciting. Also, the original voice actors for Joel and Ellie are coming back to do more lines, and that, as a fan, is very exciting to me. So, hey, some iconic scenes from the game. The new food booth coming with the ravioli. All of it. They seem to be having a lot of fun with it. So, I think this house definitely has a lot of potential, and it's going to be, I think, in the, gosh, I think one of the parade buildings, but I think that's just speculation. I'm not sure yet, but that's got a lot of space. That'd be pretty good. A lot of broken down. I think they're going to do focusing a lot on the Boston part of the game, so that's a lot of claustrophobic, tight spaces. Especially, I remember a lot of those clicker encounters in the game at that portion. So definitely pretty exciting to see coming forward. Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. Chucky, the serial killer doll, is back for a new gore fest. He's hijacked his own haunted house with all kinds of bloody hijinks. You and your friends must try to survive his ultimate kill count. It's Chucky. I mean, yeah. Um, Gosh, I mean, I guess I'll throw him in like A tier because this is the first Chucky house that we've seen since I think like 2009. But since then they've had the sci-fi show with like the little like photo op encounter, and that's been there like 2 years in a row. I think they're bringing. God, I think he had a food stand a little while back too. But dude, this house might be pretty interesting. We could see some animatronics, maybe some like Chucky things popping out at you. I don't know. It's just being kind of fun. Just a fun house. Another one I'm very excited for: Monsters Unmasked. That's going straight into the S tier. Um, this one, I mean, Legends Collide was just absolutely phenomenal last year. I didn't really like the set though. That was my one gripe I had maybe with Legends Collide. All right. Well, jokes aside, I thought this was a very, very welcome place to talk about my boy here, Phantom, as well as the other ones that could be in the Unmasked house. I had to do a special little spot here inside the wonderful horror makeup show queue with all the great stuff in here. I had to talk about that house in here because, I mean, I'm very hyped for it. Legends Collide was so fun, full of so many jump scares, but also the costumes, performers, out of this world. Definitely deserved House of the Year last year. But I'm very excited to see what we have in store this year with all the different creature designs for the new Phantom design, as well as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Very happy to see them. And my boy, the Invisible Man, so happy to see him. But I'm really excited to see the sets for the house, see how it's going to differ from Legends Collide, and see if it's going to be just as claustrophobic, maybe just as many scares. Who knows? But, I think the story's also going to be very solid. They've been doing great with these monsters houses, and yeah, catch you later. Here's another one that's pretty interesting. The Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins. Your soul is a price he's willing to pay. You won't be able to resist going inside Dr. Oddfellow's menacing menagerie of twisted oddities, but the price for you and your friends is steep. The cost of your soul's defeat is immortal power. Great seeing a new icon finally coming back to this event. I mean, just years of just IP. It's like the guy who goes to the bathroom, right? So, finally seeing a new original character brought into the mix is very exciting, and honestly, probably the most exciting part of this whole event this year. But Last of Us, that's pretty exciting for me. I mean, so this one I gotta throw it. I guess into the high A tier. It just it doesn't have the stick quite as much of an IP, and the story doesn't speak to me that much. But at the same time, this is a new original icon. Sure, he's kind of been weaved in the Jack story for years, but still, there's a completely new character, which is pretty interesting to see. Dueling Dragons, choose thy fate. No matter who you choose, you lose. Two warlocks of great power were turned into dragons after trying to take Merlin's spellbook. Now you and your friends are caught in their epic battle. You must choose a path and a victor. This is very interesting. I heard there's gonna be what, 5 different endings or four, something ridiculous. But like right at the start, you're gonna choose one of 2 different houses, and then after that, there's like 2 different endings to each of them. It's something like ridiculously cool sounding. So this one would actually probably go up, probably past Oddfellow into that A tier. It's very exciting to see. Um, I might even throw it into low S tier. Yeah, I don't know. I do not know. Okay, I think I'm gonna put Chucky back in a B tier, and yeah, we're gonna keep it like that. Um, pretty cool idea, bringing it back to Dueling Dragons. I loved Dragon Challenge. I never really got to experience Dueling Dragons, but I do know the cue and the theming for Dueling Dragons was very immersive, and then there's a cool pre-show with like murals and stuff like that. So we'll see. Hopefully, some of that storytelling coming back. Moving on, we have Yeti Campground Kills. Yeti or not, here they come. You and your friends are about to venture into a 1950s campground overrun by huge, menacing Yetis who rip apart anyone who gets in their way. You must flee to the Ranger Tower to escape. Now, if this isn't one of the sound stages, and there's maybe like a big Ranger Tower that's kind of like a set piece, like the lighthouse in Dead Man's Pier last week, last year, if there's like a big tower that's kind of like a landmark throughout the house, that'd be pretty interesting. I mean, that was probably like one of my favorite details in Dead Man's Pier last year. So, hey, a lot of potential, but I can't lie, without there being like a real IP there, you know, there's not really too much hype, and it's gonna take a lot for like an original IP story to really take my interest. Speaking of Darkest Steel, Flame, sorry, fame is fleeting, fear is forever. Blues musician Pinstraw Spruce will have to face the music after meeting with the collector and trading his soul for musical glory. You and your squad learn the terrible price of fame. This story is very awesome, just flat out cool. I mean, probably just story alone, it has to go into the high A tier for me. Dueling Dragons, very interesting in concept and hopefully in execution. But Darkest Steel's story just sounds like it's gonna sell me. Like that just sounds so cool. So I can't help myself to put it there. And finally, we have Blood Moon Dark Offerings. Bleed for the Blood Moon. In a colonial era village, moon worshippers witness a blood moon at their fall festival. They take it as a sign to hunt down any non followers, including you and your Scream Squad. Uh, there's just not a lot to go about with the description of this one. I mean, I can't lie. It just sounds like a little generic-y by its description. It's going to be a definitely like a see it when I get there, but this is just a hype list, and not gonna lie, there's just not a lot of hype with this one, so I am gonna put it down to the C tier. But all in all, this is definitely just the bottom of the line of everything I have going for this year with the houses. So uh, I guess we'll move on to the scare zones. But real quick before we do that, I'm gonna go and check in with back in myself over at studios.
Before moving on to the scare zones, I need to mention the potential tease in moving the Horror Nights Tribute Store back to the New York section of the park. In the original location, I believe there's far more space to work with. If truly back this year, it can hopefully create a fun and immersive environment like we've seen before. Not so much lackluster stores such as the Mardi Gras Tribute Store. However, I do like how the Jurassic Park store uses its limited space well, but just not well enough. So, hopefully, like you see in the footage here with the last Halloween Horror Nights Tribute Store, we'll see far more kinetic, bigger, and just overall more fun environments.
Alrighty, we're here at what we call Vamp 69. I honestly forgot what the actual name of the scare zone was. This is a very, very hype one for me. Probably the most hype one for me in general for this whole event. So the Zodiac sign in the background to kind of tie it all into the Oddfellows story. That's very cool, but also like the 69 story. I'm very hyped because, I mean, these vampire scare zones have been kind of like dispersed throughout the years, and I'm really hyped for this year's theming specifically. I just want to know what more things they're going to put in this way, because last year when they did Sweet Revenge, they had like these big parade floats kind of out here. They remind me more of Mardi Gras more than actually something from the 1950s. So I'm hoping we get something a little bit more accurate towards like a music festival from the 1960s this year.
Well, lucky me, because they actually added this giant bus that's really, really groovy right in the middle of the scare zone. So it's going to be a great centerpiece. I absolutely love it.
I know it's a glamorous day here at Universal Studios Florida. A lot better than it was last time. I think it was raining last time. And there's a lot more stuff here this time. Like there's a giant bus over here, stuff. Really exciting to see. But there's also still the stage. And now there's like some banners and like a few of these like stands. I have no idea what they're gonna do with these stands. I'm hoping my friend Phil is on the camera. Had a great idea that maybe they're gonna start selling merch from those. But realistically, I think there's gonna be like little vignettes or like little story things that are going on. But you know, I think it's going to be probably the most hyped scare zone for a lot of people, mostly because of the costumes and the type of performance that are going to be going on. But I'm very excited to see what's going to go on the stage over there. They put more and more musical instruments and motorcycles and all sorts of stuff around there. It's really going to make a huge difference this year. Hey there, we're back in here. I last called this Jungle Inferno like an idiot. This is the Jungle of Doom. I know. I love Temple of Doom, so I'm very, as you can see, this is probably the most well-themed scare zone of this whole thing. I know I was just touting and you know, going off about Vamp 69, but this one really is the most hype scare zone for me. This being the plane crash site, absolutely called it, and I was so hyped about it. It was great. Up ahead, there's like these bats. Honestly, they're freaking creepy, dude. I think if the eyes glow, that's gonna sell it at night. I mean, especially. But a lot of hidey holes, nice places for the characters come out. This with the fog, dude, it's gonna be it. But that stage definitely adds more foliage. It's gonna be a great set. The last few years just have like kind of like a stage. I think 2 years ago they did Wicked Growth, I think was the name of the scare zone, and they had like a cool little stage over here. So I'm really excited to see what little show they're gonna have here. Last year I think they did the scare zone with the scarecrows, and they didn't really have a show. So I'm already really excited to see what they have in store for us at HHN this year. I'm hoping for some Temple of Doom-esque sacrifice scene. That would be awesome. Kalima! No, just nothing. But there's also like all these barrels and like, I don't know, explosive boxes. I don't know what the story is going on here. Maybe they'll reveal some more details later. But hey, it's great what we got going on here so far. And I'm very, very excited to see what happens next. See ya.
Wow, back at it in the studio again. Well, this time we're be talking about the scare zones. Now, of course, there's way less of them, but those props and the sceneries and everything are already laid out in the park, so there's already a bit more to talk about than those houses, and they even have some footage to throw in there too. So we're going to start off with number one, Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror. Dr. Oddfellow will lure you into Halloween Horror Nights with a promise of immortality. As he lifts the veil on all of the horrors to come, you'll soon realize you may not even survive the night. Now, this one's kind of like the first scare zone that you see in the park, so not really a lot to see. I did see it. There's like a a wagon there to kind of go with that carnival traveling circus theme of his, and that's pretty cool. It's really, I think it'd be more dependent on the scare actors and the different costumes that we see in this area. Of course, I hope we see an appearance of Dr. Oddfellow himself, very similar to something like the Pumpkin Lord from last year. You know, just something right at the start of the event that you get to see at the entrance, and it's always just a fun little thing to look at when you come in. So I'm fairly hyped about this one, especially with the new character, new original character and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that in the A tier, just right off the bat. Dark Zodiac. Dr. Oddfellow has entered a dark dimension to harness the power of the Zodiac and live forever. He twists the signs into malevolent beings who foretell your doom. As his star rises, yours falls. Yeah, looking at the theming of the scare zone and everything, I really can't say I'm excited for this one. Just from what's in the park doesn't seem too enticing. I think this one will be one I'm probably just gonna be walking through quite often. Um, we'll see though. It's all dependent on the scare actors, of course, and how great of a job they do as usual. So just based on sets though, and just the sound of the story, yeah, I gotta kind of throw it in like C tier. I'm just not too hype about it. So anyway, moving on. Jungle of Doom Expedition Horror. In the 1920s, Dr. Oddfellow ventured deep into the darkest jungle, performing horrific experiments on nature. Now his monstrous creations are running amok and are coming after you. Now, this one, I gotta say, very, very exciting. I'm gonna even throw it in the good old S tier, I think, just right off the bat. I mean, the crashed plane. I mean, come on, that is such a great icon for this scare zone. The bat things that look so creepy hanging from the ceiling. I think I mentioned before, if those things had glowing eyes, they would be creepy as hell. So there's that, all the different hidey holes and barrels and things that the scare actors can be hiding from. And this is a very claustrophobic space right in that Central Park area of Universal Studios Florida. So this is gonna be a very, very terrifying scare zone, I think, at night, depending on what music, and also they have like a little stage, so we're hopefully gonna see like a little show happen as well. I do love the scare zones that have those, especially last year they had Conjure the Dark, which was my favorite out of all the scare zones, just purely because that little show that happened like every 5 minutes. It was just fun to watch. Right, this was probably S tier for a lot of people on their tier lists, and I gotta say it's probably up there with it for me, just purely because the giant stage, the vibes I'm getting from it, the props, and the potential, of course, for the costumes and all the other set pieces they could be installing still. That's going to be Vamp 69's Summer of Blood. At a 60s music fest in a small New York town, you'll jam to the popular bands with fellow concertgoers until Dr. Oddfellow unleashes vicious vampires on the audience. They're out for your blood. Yeah, story's very simple, but very fun. I don't know how else really to describe it. Like I mentioned before, there was that stage, and I started noticing more and more musical instruments being added to that stage. They had motorcycles near some like the light fixtures. They had this giant bus right outside Revenge of the Mummy. That's very fun and just kind of adds a nice vibe to the area, I guess. There's also these like little stands. I think I mentioned it. Uh, I have no idea. They could be serving food, they could be serving merch, or they could just be serving a show. I have no idea. So, but this is a very, very exciting scare zone, but just not the most exciting one for me personally. So, Shipyard 32 Horrors Unhinged. Enter a 1940s San Francisco shipping yard full of mysterious crates and cages bearing Dr. Oddfellow's symbol. Beware. His nightmarish oddities have now escaped, spreading fear, chaos in their wake. Yeah, no, it's gonna be like D tier. I mean, walking around, somehow the props were like even less interesting than Dark Zodiac. But to be fair, I don't think there's a lot in the scare zone right now. We'll just have to see. And again, the scare actors can make this absolutely terrifying and probably a really good scare zone to go through. I just know that there's some cages and stuff, so I'm wondering, are they gonna throw people in the cages and just have them be like, help me, and I don't know. I just think it's funny when they have like little like victims in the scare zones. You know, like Conjure the Dark had it, and that was interesting. They like sacrificed their girl every 30 minutes. With some wild stuff, but yeah, I mean, this is gonna be another. We'll see it when we get there. So anyway, that's all the scare zones for me. If I have anything else to say, then I'm just gonna throw it in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the fog.
So today, I will teach you how to make a taco so savory, so spicy, so Salamanca. The fog is coming, the fog is coming, the fog is coming, the fog is coming.